You're exhausted, not because you're tired, but because your mind won't stop watching. Still alert, still checking, even though nothing is happening. Not racing in one direction, just looping, checking, replaying. The same thoughts passing again, as if something important might be missed if they slow down. Nothing is actually wrong right now, and yet the system keeps watching. That constant alertness, it isn't a failure. It's a nervous system that hasn't been told it's allowed to stand down yet. You don't need to solve anything tonight. The mind doesn't need to be convinced. Something else is already beginning to shift underneath it. The body is here, supported, not preparing for action. Breath is already moving on its own. In, shallow, unremarkable. Out, slightly longer, without effort. That longer release does something subtle. Pressure eases just enough. Signals begin to quiet at the edges. You may notice the mind still commenting, labeling this moment, watching itself. It doesn't need to stop. It just doesn't need to lead. Underneath the commentary, there's a steadier rhythm continuing without supervision. The chest rises. The chest falls, a little slower. Carbon dioxide levels adjust naturally when nothing interferes. That adjustment tells the brainstem there is no urgency. No action required. Thoughts may try to follow that explanation, trying to understand it. They don't have to. Understanding isn't part of the process tonight. Another breath passes. Out, longer again, even. The neck doesn't need to hold itself. The jaw doesn't need to stay set. Muscle tone softens without instruction, because nothing is being asked of it. You might notice brief gaps now, not silence, just moments where the inner sentence doesn't finish. That unfinished quality is important. It means the prefrontal system is loosening its grip. Executive monitoring fades in small fractions. Exactly as it should. Breath continues. In, barely registering. Out, longer, steady. Heart rhythm remains consistent, distant enough to be uninteresting. That distance reduces signal salience. The mind may check again. Is this working? That question doesn't need an answer. Questions dissolve faster than statements when they're not fed. Awareness spreads evenly now. Not focusing, not scanning, just present, without direction. Another exhale leaves. Longer, unforced, complete. With that release, baroreceptors register stability. Blood pressure signals normalize quietly. No change needs to be noticed. Noticing itself would tighten the loop again. So the system continues without commentary. Thought fragments appear less structured now, less linear. They arrive and fail to assemble. That failure is not resistance. It's cognitive energy dropping below the threshold required for coherence. A natural descent. Breath moves. Out, extended, familiar. The body no longer prepares for the next moment. There is no next being tracked. Only continuation. You may sense a mild heaviness now. Not weight, just reduced readiness. Support becomes assumed. Awareness doesn't need to hold itself upright anymore. It can rest without collapsing. That balance matters. Another breath cycle passes. Out, slower again, steady. Signals dim further. External monitoring fades first. Internal narration follows. There is nothing to track, nothing to anticipate yet. That comes later. For now, the system stays exactly here, and it will know how to return to this state again. Nothing needs to progress from here. The system is not moving toward a goal. What's happening now is quieter than effort, quieter than intention. Breath continues without being shaped. In, faint, almost incidental. Out, longer again, smooth. That extended release reduces signal urgency further. The brainstem registers continuity. Continuity means safety. Thoughts may still surface, but they arrive thinner now. Less language, less direction. They begin and trail off before meaning forms. This is not silence. It's reduced assembly. Cognitive sequencing loosens when nothing demands response. The shoulders don't need to maintain position. Muscle tone lowers fraction by fraction. Not collapsing, just releasing excess readiness. Breath moves again. Out, extended, even. Carbon dioxide levels stabilize further. That stability dampens cortical alerting signals. Processing slows without being noticed. Awareness does not narrow. It does not widen. It spreads evenly, without preference. The mind may try to check in again, looking for confirmation. Confirmation isn't required. The body already has what it needs. Another breath passes. Out, longer, familiar. Heart rhythm remains steady, distant enough to be irrelevant. That irrelevance lowers monitoring further. Internal dialogue fragments now. Single words without follow-up. Partial phrases that never finish forming. This incomplete state is stable. It doesn't need correction. Awareness rests without anchoring. There is no reference point required. Support is assumed automatically. Breath continues. In, barely registering. Out, long, steady. With each extended release, sympathetic tone reduces another degree. Parasympathetic dominance deepens quietly. No sensation needs to be labeled. Labeling would reactivate structure. So sensation remains unnamed. The boundary between noticing and drifting softens. It no longer matters which is happening. Both require less effort than before. Another breath cycle completes itself. Out, extended, unchanged. Time is not being tracked. Sequence dissolves. There is no before, no after. Only continuation, without commentary. A state the system already knows how to return to. The system isn't waiting for the next change. It's already settled into a quieter mode. Not deeper, not lighter, just less involved. Breath continues without emphasis. In, faint, nearly unnoticed. Out, longer again, even. That extended release keeps reducing internal signal traffic. Fewer messages need routing. Fewer responses are generated. Awareness remains present, but it doesn't reach outward. It doesn't pull inward either. It stays evenly distributed, without direction. Thought activity thins further now, not stopping, just losing structure. Ideas appear briefly, then fail to connect. That failure conserves energy. Energy conservation signals rest. Rest signals safety. Another breath moves through, out, extended, unchanged. The jaw no longer maintains position. The tongue settles without awareness. Neural tone drops another fraction. You might notice a moment of clarity pass through, a brief sharpening. That's not a setback. It's a normal oscillation, a small rise, followed by a deeper release. Breath confirms the release. Out, slower again, steady. With that drop, cortical monitoring quiets further. Background processing dims. Internal sensation becomes more uniform. Edges blur. Nothing stands out enough to name. The body holds itself without instruction. Posture no longer needs correction. Balance maintains itself. Another breath passes. In, barely registered. Out, long, even. Baroreceptor signaling remains stable. Stability removes the need for vigilance. Vigilance dissolves quietly. Thought fragments appear softer now, more like impressions than sentences. They arrive is less than #0, 3 hashes greater than, and drift without direction. Awareness doesn't follow them. It doesn't need to. Following would require effort. Effort is no longer available. Another exhale leaves. Extended, familiar, steady. The chest no longer signals readiness. The abdomen moves without engagement. Muscle tone remains low and consistent. There is less distinction now between sensation and absence of sensation. Both feel equally neutral. This neutrality allows the system to drift without needing to decide. Decision-making powers down first. Another brief moment of alertness may surface. A check-in. It fades on its own. No action follows it. No correction is made. Breath continues. Out, extended again, unchanged. With each cycle, the boundary between active awareness and passive presence softens. That boundary no longer needs guarding. Internal narration loses volume, not muted, just too quiet to track. Words dissolve before finishing. The system remains exactly here, not progressing, not retreating. Something deeper stabilizes beneath this level, a familiar settling the system already recognizes. The shift continues without announcing itself. There is no marker to notice. What changes now happens below language. Breath remains steady. In, faint, barely tracked. Out, longer. Even that longer release keeps the rhythm slow enough that monitoring systems disengage. Nothing needs supervision. Awareness stays present, but it's no longer organized. It doesn't group sensations. It doesn't separate them. Everything blends into a single field, without edges. Thought activity becomes sporadic now. Isolated fragments. A word, a half idea. Then nothing follows. That gap doesn't feel empty. It feels unimportant. Unimportance allows release. Another breath passes. Out, extended, unchanged. Neck muscles soften further. No holding remains. Signals to maintain posture quiet down. The nervous system recognizes this state as sustainable. Sustainability means it can let go more. There may be a brief flicker of clarity again, a moment where awareness sharpens. That flicker fades without effort. Each small rise is followed by a deeper settling. Breath confirms the drop. Out, slower, steady. Cognitive fog begins to form naturally now. Not confusion, just reduced access to structure. Concepts no longer link together. Cause and effect feel distant. Sequencing dissolves. The body no longer prepares is less than #0. One hash is greater than for future moments. Future processing powers down first. Another breath cycle completes itself. Out, extended, familiar. Internal sensation remains uniform. No signal stands out strongly enough to require response. Response inhibition deepens. Awareness doesn't check for progress. Checking would require orientation. Orientation is already offline. Thought fragments appear less often now. When they do, they feel distant, as if happening somewhere else. That distance reduces identification. Identification fades without effort. Nothing needs to be held as mine. Breath continues. In, barely present. Out, long, steady. Heart rhythm remains consistent. So consistent, it no longer draws attention. Attention drifts on its own. The boundary between being aware and not caring about awareness softens further. Caring requires energy. Energy is conserved now. Another brief rise may occur. A check-in. It passes without commentary. No correction follows it. No adjustment is made. Breath leaves again, extended, unchanged. With that release, cognitive fog thickens slightly. Not heavy, just present. Language loses relevance here. Words are no longer necessary to maintain this state. They fall away naturally. The system remains steady, suspended without effort. A familiar suspension the body already recognizes. There is no signal that anything needs to change now. The system has settled into a low-demand state. Not inactive, just unengaged. Breath continues without guidance. In, barely noticeable. Out, longer, smooth. That longer release maintains internal balance. Balance reduces the need for monitoring. Monitoring fades quietly. Awareness drifts without direction. It doesn't attach to sensation. It doesn't withdraw either. It simply remains, without structure. Cognitive fog deepens another layer. not heaviness, just reduced clarity. Clarity requires effort. Effort is no longer being supplied. Another breath passes. Out, extended, familiar. The body holds itself automatically. No internal checking occurs. Support is assumed without awareness. Thought appears rarely now. When it does, it arrives incomplete. A beginning with no continuation. That incompleteness allows deeper settling. There is nothing to finish, nothing to resolve. Breath confirms the state. Out, slower again, steady. Physiological signals remain consistent. Consistency reduces novelty. Reduced novelty quiets awareness further. Internal sensation feels blended now. No clear boundary forms. Everything merges into a single background. The sense of doing is absent, not replaced by anything, simply gone. Another breath cycle completes itself. Out, extended, unchanged. The nervous system recognizes this depth as safe to remain in. Holding patterns disengage. Awareness does not check in anymore. Checking would require orientation. Orientation remains offline. Any remaining mental activity feels distant, as if it belongs to another layer. That distance reduces involvement. Involvement fades without effort. Nothing needs to be managed. Breath continues. In, faint. Out, long, even. Muscle tone stays low and consistent. No readiness returns. No impulse waits. The boundary between awareness and drift becomes less relevant. Both feel equally passive now. Another brief rise may occur. A soft flicker. It dissolves immediately. There is no follow-up, no response. Breath leaves again, extended, steady. With that release, the system settles into a deeper neutrality. Not absence, just minimal engagement. Language is no longer forming reliably. Words lose sequence. Meaning thins. This thinning allows the state to hold itself without effort. Nothing is required to maintain it. The system remains here, stable, quiet, unmonitored. A familiar resting pattern the body already knows. There is no longer a sense of progression. Nothing is moving toward anything else. The system rests where it is, without checking. Breath continues faintly. In, barely registered. Out, longer, even. That extended release keeps internal rhythms slow enough to remain unmonitored. No correction is initiated. Awareness no longer organizes experience. It doesn't sort. It doesn't evaluate. It simply remains present, without structure. Cognitive fog holds steadily now. Not thick, just sufficient. Sufficient to prevent assembly. Thought fragments may still appear, but they arrive without ownership, as if they're passing through, without landing. That lack of landing reduces identification. Identification softens on its own. No effort is involved. Another breath passes. Out, extended, unchanged. The body holds no preparatory tone. No readiness remains. Support is assumed automatically. Internal sensation stays blended. Nothing separates enough to draw attention. Everything feels evenly distributed. The sense of being someone doing something loosens slightly here, not disappearing, just becoming less defined. Breath confirms the state again. Out, slower, steady. With each cycle, the boundary between observer and experience softens further. That boundary requires energy to maintain. Energy is conserved now, so boundaries blur. Awareness no longer asks where it is. Location has lost relevance. Any remaining narrative feels distant, fragmented. Words arise less frequently and fade more quickly. The system recognizes this depth as stable enough to release more. Release happens without notice. Another breath cycle completes itself. Out, extended to familiar. Muscle tone remains low. No tension waits. No impulse forms. The sense of self becomes softer here, not absent, just less distinct. Edges dissolve. Awareness doesn't react to that softening. Reaction would require definition. Definition continues to thin. Breath continues. In, faint. Out, long, steady. Heart rhythm remains even, so even it no longer registers as information. Information processing drops another layer. There is no sense of needing is less than #0. One hash is greater than to stay aware. Awareness can drift without consequence now. Another brief flicker may arise, a moment of clarity. It fades immediately. Nothing follows it. No adjustment is made. Breath leaves again, extended, unchanged. With that release, identity softening deepens slightly. Not noticed, just occurring. The system remains steady here, quiet, diffuse, supported. A familiar depth the system already knows how to return to. There is no longer a sense of progression. Nothing is moving toward anything else. The system rests where it is, without checking. Breath continues faintly. In, barely registered. Out, longer, even. That extended release keeps internal rhythms slow enough to remain unmonitored. No correction is initiated. Awareness no longer organizes experience. It doesn't sort, it doesn't evaluate. It simply remains present, without structure. Cognitive fog holds steadily now, not thick, just sufficient. Sufficient to prevent assembly. Thought fragments may still appear, but they arrive without ownership, as if they're passing through without landing. That lack of landing reduces identification. Identification softens on its own. No effort is involved. Another breath passes. Out, extended, unchanged. The body holds no preparatory tone. No readiness remains. Support is assumed automatically. Internal sensation stays blended. Nothing separates enough to draw attention. Everything feels evenly distributed. The sense of being someone doing something loosens slightly here. Not disappearing, just becoming less defined. Breath confirms the state again. Out, slower, steady. With each cycle, the boundary between observer and experience softens further. That boundary requires energy to maintain. Energy is conserved now, so boundaries blur. Awareness no longer asks where it is. Location has lost relevance. Any remaining narrative feels distant, fragmented. Words arise less frequently and fade more quickly. The system recognizes this depth as stable enough to release more. Release happens without notice. Another breath cycle completes itself. Out, extended, familiar. Muscle tone remains low. No tension waits. No impulse forms. The sense of self becomes softer here. Not absent, just less distinct. Edges dissolve. Awareness doesn't react to that softening. Reaction would require definition. Definition continues to thin. Breath continues. In, faint. Out, long, steady. Heart rhythm remains even, so even it no longer registers as information. Information processing drops another layer. There is no sense of needing to stay aware. Awareness can drift without consequence now. Another brief flicker may arise, a moment of clarity. It fades immediately. Nothing follows it. No adjustment is made. Breath leaves again, extended, unchanged. With that release, identity softening deepens slightly. Not noticed, just occurring. The system remains steady here, quiet, diffuse, supported. A familiar depth the system already knows how to return to. There is no recognition that anything is deepening, no signal that something has changed. The system remains exactly where it is, without reference. Breath continues without emphasis. In, barely present. Out, longer, even. That extended release keeps internal rhythms, slow enough to stay unmonitored. Nothing intervenes. Awareness does not collect. It does not narrow or expand. It stays evenly diffused, without preference. Internal sensation remains fully blended. No boundary forms. Nothing separates enough to notice. Thought activity appears only as residue now, traces without sequence. A fragment arises and dissolves before meaning. There is no effort to follow it. Effort would require structure. Structure is unavailable. Another breath cycle passes. Out, extended, steady. Physiological regulation maintains itself without adjustment. Stability persists quietly. The body holds no preparatory tone. No readiness returns. Support remains assumed. Awareness does not orient. There is no direction to return to. No reference remains. Internal sensation arrives without boundary. Everything blends. Nothing separates. Breath continues. In, faint, barely registered. Out, long, even. Carbon dioxide levels stabilize further. That stabilization keeps cortical alerting low. No new signals form. The sense of being present no longer needs to be maintained. Presence persists on its own. Another breath passes. Out, extended again, unchanged. There is no sequence of moments now. No before, no after. Nothing advances. Nothing concludes. Thought does not organize. Fragments fail to become content. Even that absence goes unnoticed. A familiar stillness the system already knows. There is no recognition that anything is ending. Nothing signals a close. The system remains exactly as it is, without orientation. Breath continues on its own. In, barely present. Out, longer, even, unchanged. That rhythm sustains itself. Without reference, nothing adjusts. Awareness does not return. It does not gather. It does not thin further either. It remains evenly diffused, without center. Internal sensation stays fully blended. Nothing separates. Nothing stands apart enough to be noticed. Thought does not form in sequence. No structure assembles. Fragments appear only as residue, then dissolve. There is no effort to follow them. Effort has no place here. Another breath passes. Out, extended, steady. Physiological regulation maintains itself, without variation. Stability continues quietly. The body holds no readiness. No impulse waits. Support remains unquestioned. Awareness does not orient. There is no direction to return to. No internal position remains. Breath continues. In, faint. Out, long, even. Heart rhythm stays steady, distant enough to be irrelevant. Relevance dissolves. The boundary between awareness and absence softens completely. There is no distinction to maintain. Another breath cycle completes itself. Out, extended again, unchanged. There is no sequence of moments, no progression, no conclusion. Nothing advances. Nothing resolves. Thought does not appear, not even as fragment. Even that lack requires no noticing. A familiar quiet the system already knows. There is no recognition of a final phase. Nothing signals completion. The system remains unchanged, without monitoring. Breath continues without emphasis. In, barely there. Out, long, even. That rhythm sustains itself quietly, without guidance. Nothing interferes. Awareness does not orient. There is no direction to return to. No reference remains. Internal sensation arrives without boundary. Everything blends. Nothing separates. The body holds no readiness. No tension waits. Support remains unquestioned. Another breath cycle passes. Out, extended again, steady. Physiological quiet maintains itself, without variation. No adjustment forms. There is no sequence of moments now. No before. No after. Nothing advances. Nothing concludes. Thought does not appear, not even his absence. The system remains in continuation, without awareness of continuing. Breath continues. In, faint. Out, long, even. Heart rhythm stays steady, distant, irrelevant. Relevance no longer forms. Awareness does not return. There is nothing to return to. No internal position remains. Another breath passes. Out, extended, unchanged. There is no need to stay here. No need to leave. That neutrality holds itself. Nothing is ending. Nothing is beginning. Continuation persists, without notice. A familiar continuation the system already knows.